All right. And thanks for everyone for logging on time or early for this talk today. And we have something very, very interesting to talk about. Interesting concept today to talk about on the trifecta nutrition talk, which I think we're abbreviating TNT now, and I have no problem with that.
Stop.
I like
I
it.
love it.
Um,
Let's do it.
and I'm gonna suggest something else. I'm thinking we I'm thinking we maybe get some t-shirts with our both our companies on the shirts on the sleeve. We'll go Ammo Health and we'll do some CrossFit
I don't even
Newtown.
care if
Like,
it's just one thing, man. I'm not attached to anything.
yeah, I mean we could do it. I think it'll be cool. What's up, Janice?
Like the baseball team. What Adrian's wearing right now, I'm good.
The
This is all
caffeine
I wear.
is that
This
caffeine
is
in
all I
kilos?
wear.
It is,
Yeah,
right?
I just have them
Okay.
like 20 colors.
Yeah, no, they make some quality
I'm
stuff.
lazy.
Yeah,
I'm lazy.
exactly. Same here. Same
Decision
here.
fatigue. I don't want it.
And then in the summer, we can cut the sleeves off.
There you go. There you go. So we chose to talk about nutrient timing today. So we decided to open up this can of worms because I think it is a can of worms.
It's a can of
And
worms.
it is. And we could really dive deep into this rabbit hole of nutrient timing. And I think what we first need to do is clarify what nutrient timing is. And I think there's two ways. Well, there's really one way to define it, and then there's two ways to kind of apply it in my opinion, and we'll talk about that. So nutrient timing is a strategic method of ingesting certain macronutrients. And this can be applied in a big window when we talk about the entire day, okay? And it can also be applied specifically to the workout window.
Mhm.
So in my mind, those are the two things with nutrient timing. And to be honest, I think nutrient timing is very important to move to the next level. I think it is. And I think you guys agree with that. It is very, very important to move to that next level. Nutrient timing, in my opinion, is not important till we have the foundations correct, because it's
Mhm.
another layer to worry about. But a lot of people
Mhm.
that are listening to us, they do have their foundations correct. They do. Our audience knows they're well versed, well educated. They've been listening to us. They've been working with the one of the three of us in some capacity. So I believe that they all have a good foundation. So now it's time to talk about what's next. What else can we do?
Mhm.
And nutrient timing is important. Do you guys agree with that statement as far as the application of what actual nutrient timing is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when talking about nutrient timing, we're talking about specific macros. Now, how do we want to attack this? Do we want to attack this where we're talking about, I mean, we could attack this where we talk about protein first and its role in timing throughout the day. And I'd like to pose a question, and here's how I'm going to structure it. A person that eats 1 to 2 meals a day and tries to meet their protein requirements versus someone that eats 4 to 6 meals a day and spaces out their protein requirements. As far as nutrient timing is concerned, that's the overall picture. What is your opinion? And we'll start with Adrianne. What is your opinion against and we're talking about protein only right now. We're not talking about workout window. What is your opinion on bigger feeds less frequently or smaller feeds more frequently?
Directed at overall performance.
We're looking as far as like your body's needs for protein and protein synthesis and protein degradation, and what the effects of nutrient timing protein specifically has on that. And maybe I'll just start with what my general understanding of it is.
I think more frequent feedings at lesser grams, because I mean, in the research I've read, you can't really break down, and again, there's a sway window for all, more than 30 grams at a time. So my 50-gram meal, I don't really know what's going to happen to the other 20 grams, where that's going, what's happening. And there's been like a massive debate about this, but I like to just go to like, okay, great, we're all arguing, where does this sit? 30 to 40 grams tends to be like where you edge out with breaking down that protein for utilization of whatever you want, whether it's muscle rebuilding, tissue restructuring, remodeling, that and the amount of gut enzymes you're going to need to break that down, right? It seems, and again, in my practice, I've seen better results with smaller, I call it like a protein drip. I kind of want that feeding all day to be able to get that, to be able to actually get into protein synthesis, which most people aren't in. And I've probably only actually dialed in maybe 4 times in my life where I've really nailed that to the point where I'm like truly anabolic. And it's a lot of prep, and it's feeding. Like I would say, like I'm feeding, like I'm in a feed mode where I'm like eating basically every 2 to 3 hours, mostly 3. It depends on everybody, 3 to 4, but 1 to 2 big feeds I've just hasn't seen to be that beneficial. I've seen a lot of gut gastrointestinal issues when you have 2 big feeds and you're trying to weigh in 60 grams like that. If you're looking at even the 100 grams flat out the gate, 2 meals at 50, it's just too much for the gut to break down.
And I agree with that. And this is, what literature is out there that we're reading, as far as what the benefits are, and actually some anecdotal stuff. How do you feel after eating 100 grams? Can you even eat? Because if you're looking at your protein requirement, most people, even your general recommendation of, listen, we got to get 100 no matter what. That's a checkbox. Get 100. Even that alone, if you were a smaller woman trying to get 100 in like 2 or 3 meals, that could cause you a little stomach distress. As far as me, I'm a big eater. I'm also a 205-pound dude. So I've put down, and I definitely wouldn't want to, and we're going to talk about exercise. I definitely wouldn't want to put down 60 to 80 grams of protein prior to exercising. And we could talk about what I experimented with my meal today, how I felt because I had some fat in it and what fat does to kind of nutrient timing around your workout. And I can say that it's different. I agree. I agree that more frequent, smaller feedings to get your requirement are better than the isolated big meals. Janice, what do you think? I think you want to chime in here because you're giving me this, that you want to come at my screen. So I'm going to let you come at my screen. Go ahead.
No, I'm going to agree with you in terms of more frequency, but I think when we say that, I think 3 meals combined with possible snacks. So when you say eating a certain period of time per day, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're saying eat 4 to 6 meals. That could be where it's 3 meals and then you're breaking in 2 smaller snacks.
2 snacks, yeah.
Kind of have a Greek yogurt, have a little bit of protein. Right there, 20 grams of protein, 20 grams of protein, only very light calories, and you're able to spread that protein, continue the protein synthesis and keep the protein going in your body without jamming up your gut and requiring it to break down a lot more than it can tolerate. But I also do think that for different people, eating more meals, as long as, like you said, they need to be prepped out and they need to be planned, because more meals for people could mean reducing the amount that they eat in calories because they've tuned in enough to their hunger and they're never getting themselves full because they mentally know that they have a little bit more food coming. So it's like that whole thing that we talk about, like the Hunger Games. Like if you don't eat to a 0 and being completely full, in an hour or 2 hours, you have room to eat. It doesn't mean you need to eat a lot. But for some people, that really works. For other people, the idea of eating more can be then they're over consuming. So I think 3 meals kind of in my mind is a baseline of minimum in terms of meals. And then from there, if it's 2 additional snacks or 3 additional snacks, it helps seems to be just my mentality and how you can kind of control that. Break the protein down and then control the amount that you're eating.
Oh, for sure. And my thing is, as far as repair of tissue and the building of lean body tissue, from my understanding and what my general recommendation is that you need a continuous flow of amino acid pool. You need that. So in order to do that, you need these frequent feedings, and I would like to call them pulses, right? Throughout the day. Some pulses maybe could be higher than others. And we don't have to get too crazy with the exact grams, but like Adrian gave that recommendation of 30 to 40, and that fits 99.9% of the people, you know, that are of a body weight or a lean body weight to meet the requirement within that. You know what I mean? I don't know too many guys. I mean, I know people are watching all kinds of YouTube videos. I'd watch back in the day when I was first exposed to nutrient timing within the bodybuilding realm. Okay. And I watched videos of Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler waking up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to eat. Because listen, while you're sleeping, we're also repairing. So then my brain was fried. I was like, so should I sleep or should I wake up and actually eat something? Or is there something timing specific that I should be doing at night that'll help me throughout my night of sleep? Nutrient timing is so broad, and we're talking about the broad picture of it, and we're breaking down one macro right now, which is protein. And the reason I decided to start with that, because I think that's the most important one that people lack.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so that's timing throughout the day. And before I go any further, anyone who has any questions, please populate the chat. I will open it up at the end, but sometimes when I open it up at the end, if no one says anything, then, you know, we're not really prepared with questions. So while they're talking, if you guys kind of populate the chat with anything you hear that you'd like to ask, because we may move on. You have a question about protein, we'll definitely come back to it and chat a little bit about it. Now, the other really interesting thing when we talk about nutrient timing is if we try to get it to, like, some people, this every 3 hour eating is almost such a complex way of it's really hard for them to wrap their head around that. So when I'm dealing with a nutritional client, the first piece of timing I address is workout nutrition, because that's one window per day. And if we can get a handle on that, I think we could do a lot of magic. And I feel like the workout window is important. Adrian, do you feel like the workout window is a very important concept with nutrient timing, or do you think it really doesn't matter?
It absolutely matters. Especially if you're training, it's something to be managed, right? So if I was to, once the foundations are laid down, that's the first place I attack. And it takes time, right? But like you were saying, if I was to even block everybody up into hour spectrums, meaning if 8 to 12, 12 to 4, 4 to 8, figure out when you work out. Okay, I work out from 12 to 4 in that scope. Well, then that 4 hours is literally where we're spending the next 4 weeks maximizing nutrient timing. So hydration, protein, carbs before, during, and after. And it's going to take 4 weeks to get that 4 hours, you know, because the meal before, after, yada, yada, yada. But once the foundations are laid, that's where I go. I chunk it up. Most people, sometimes if they're doing like your 6 a.m., well, then they're like a 6 to 10. So once I get foundations, then I chunk it into 4 blocks. And we take that block, work on that, clean it. Next block, work on that, clean it. You know what I'm saying? So like some people, sometimes if they can't think about the thing, they can more frame an hour segment to like handle and manage. But I think it's critical, especially if someone's working out in the morning. That is like in the middle of the day, but people that work out in the morning, that because you can really switch and move your hormones and direct it for the rest of the day if you handle that workout window correctly. If you don't, then you're going to be having these side effects of higher appetite, weird cravings of salt, sugars, things that you didn't replace. Now you're overeating at 8 o'clock at night on chocolates because you didn't, hammer your sugars correctly in your intra-workout mix. So all of those other things that are happening are really because of that first window that we didn't address. So right after foundations, like we are hammering that workout nutrition window. And it's funny then because other things clean up that I don't really have to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to go into like more psychological stuff when it's a physiological issue. It's not a psychological thing where it's like, oh, I suck at life. I'm eating past 8. That's not it. It's the sugars weren't done physiologically within a certain window frame.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And what I really like that you did there is separate the day into blocks so we can address it. We can address the problem specific to the individual as far as when they work out. And I'm sure we
Yeah.
can, I want to ask Janice a quick question, and going back to the importance of nutrient timing. I do think people are the most problematic when they're an early AM exerciser. That, and we're gonna dive into that, because I know we have a lot of listeners where they fall into that category. So, I mean, Janice, are you of the same school of thought where you think, for your folks that you're advising, and for yourself specifically, are you paying attention to nutrient timing specifically around workout windows?
I specifically for me do. I find that is the time of the day, and I do work out in the morning, but I don't work out fresh in the morning. So I have time to get up. But for me, when I'm done my workout and have finished training, I know I've already had a good part of my protein, and I have my higher glycemic carbs, and like most of those are kind of in for the day, and then the rest of my day is set with my like kind of clean eating. It's not even like thoughtful eating. It's kind of like, I know now I just have my veggies, I have my protein. 100% agree on that. And more importantly, diving into that with clients, especially people who maybe don't know how they can hit their protein or know how they can get those nutrients in, diving on that window, because really if you focus on the before and during and look at that as one, and then focus on the after, you really, like for a female, I should be getting in around 40 to 45 grams of protein and probably about 70 to 90 grams of carbs in that. So that's like eats up a good amount of it. That provides me so much energy, great for protein synthesis, helps with muscle breakdown, helps with the recovery. And like the rest of the day, it's like, okay, well, you don't have to maybe eat that chicken breast again for dinner.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to have a vegetarian dinner and you want to have a little bit of, beans and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to eat it there. So it doesn't, I think that really helps. I do a little bit of more of the liquid protein around working out.
And we're going to talk about that. Yeah.
But I think that is definitely, it's huge for people, and they get a win, and you see those results. You do that for a week and you hit that protein and carbs where you're supposed to. Your body's going to recover a lot better. You're going to feel better. And like Adrianne said, then now you start knocking out some of those other things. Now maybe it's not them snacking late at night because you focus so much on that part of it that it takes those problems that were initially there in the other area and it's gone.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And excuse me. Totally agree with you there. And then what I think is important for our listeners to understand is, what is the main goals of the pre and post? Peri is a goal, but let's separate it simply first, right? So here's my understanding of basic needs, all right? Basic needs during the pre and post. Now, this is all science backed, and then there's some anecdotal stuff and stuff that we've heard. So pre-exercise, you want to supply energy and hydration. Supply energy and hydration, okay? And we're going to talk about the macros that do that. Post, your goals are to help the recovery process, and I could be missing that in the first part too, but part two after is to start helping the recovery process, and one of those macros is protein's going to start helping regenerate tissue, okay? The other thing is to replenish energy, which is muscle glycogen, right? And the third piece of it is hydration. So you end up getting, like, people end up saying, how do I get enough? You use that workout window, that 4-hour block, to get all this stuff in. And we didn't even touch peri yet, okay? We just basically talked about we need energy and hydration. There's some argument to be said. You need to start the recovery process then too, maybe with some little bit of protein, maybe with some branched chain amino acids. And then after, we're talking about replenishing glycogen, rehydrating, and starting the recovery process with muscle tissue breakdown, okay? Now, with that being said, the next macro I'd like to talk about is carbohydrates and their role in this workout window. And we can add the layer of protein in there too, because that's very, very important. But so for someone like me, let me give you my example of what I did today and why the first part may have been wrong and the second part was spot on, and I didn't do anything for peri. And then we can go on to Adrianne as far as protocols and Janice, and we could talk about this. But So I consider myself a fitness professional, actually, if anyone didn't know that. That's what I do for a living. So I get to kind of create my day also around like working out as part of my job. It is. So I get a perfect schedule. I work out at 9:30. I wake up at least 3 or 4 hours prior to exercise. I can make myself a nice breakfast that serves as my pre-workout meal, and then I'm able to be home and make myself an excellent post-workout kind of meal. So here's how my day went today. I woke up, and what I immediately had was coffee, because life is coffee. Okay, life is coffee. So I had some caffeine. I put some natural light creamer in there, and I put some I know all the like the sugar substitute people are gonna kill me, but I live life. Okay, I live it on the edge. I had some cookie dough sugar-free syrup that my wife was so nice to buy me because I like flavored coffees and I'm not hardcore anymore, so I can't do black coffee. Okay, so that was step number one. Step number two is I started making breakfast. Here's where I think I made a mistake, and we're going to talk about this. So I had about 4 eggs, right? Whole eggs. And I put a little bit of American cheese in there. And I did Ezekiel cinnamon raisin toast, 2 slices. Okay. Now, here's my opinion of where I went wrong, but it didn't really affect me because I was paying attention to how I felt during the workout, which Janice knows I shut my screen off for. So, in my opinion, I had a little bit too much fat in my pre-workout meal. Okay. And if I had to work out more metabolically than I chose to, it probably would have caused an issue. But it didn't, because my workout wasn't metabolic in nature, although I was sweating. It was very strength focused. Okay. Now, afterwards, I felt like I was spot on. I had liquid nutrition because gastric emptying, wow, I can't even say that, is prohibited during the post-workout window. So I like a liquid. I like a liquid that's easily digestible. I could drink it fast. I don't have to make it. Like, it takes me like 2 minutes to make my shake. It also takes me like 10 minutes to even think about what I want to eat, and then I have to make it, right? So I want to get it in. So then I came downstairs with a couple, I made a smoothie with Stronger, Faster, Healthier whey protein, which is a concentrate. That's what I'm using right now. We could talk about different types of protein, but that's what I'm using right now. Then I put in that smoothie a decent amount of grams of frozen berries, all right? In addition to one really, really, really ripe banana where the outside of the skin was absolutely black. All right. And this was a really, really ripe banana. I put that in there with some almond milk, a scoop of protein, a scoop of creatine, and then I sucked that down. So there's little or no fat in that post-workout meal. So I sucked that down, and I'm going to say that I feel great. All right. And that's a pretty standard protocol that I usually do. If I could have it another way, and I'll ask Adrianne about this, I would have lowered my fat intake on my pre-workout meal. I would have lowered it a lot. I went with 4 whole eggs. I added some cheese to it, and I cooked in Kerrygold grass-fed butter. All right, so that's what I did. But it was a good number of hours. What's that, Janice?
That you were all mosquito minus the rest of breakfast.
Yeah, and I probably could have put some extra carbohydrates in there. I probably could have put some jelly, which I do give my kids. So my kids had strawberry jelly on their Ezekiel toast. I had nothing. So I could have probably done that, and that probably would have been better. So what's your, let's just do pre-post, Adrianne, and can we go over what you do and the why, just like I kind of did with my protocol?
Yeah, I mean, my training is very different. I'm not using that much energy, so I'm going to just disregard this current situation and go back a little bit.
Okay.
When I was training more hard, I guess.
Sure.
Right.
It depends.
So yeah, it definitely depends. It also could have been your Ezekiel break because of the fiber. The fat and fiber will slow it all down. So it could have been the fat, could have been the fiber. I don't know. Just my ears perked up there. So typically, like you said, so the use of releasing energy, ATP, getting that moving, and then cellular hydration, making that work. So typically, again, like I start with some salt water in the morning with some sort of citric acid to get my alkalinity baseline. Then if I'm going to train right away, if I'm doing an early morning session, I usually do like 2 rice cakes with pure jelly. Like not fake jelly, but like pure jelly.
Yeah, like good
jam.
stuff. Yeah.
Good stuff. Lots of sugar. And I mix that with a blended EAA drink, so essential amino acids. So that's just going to be my pre. And in that is usually some electrolyte hydration mix, usually some coconut water to help kind of drive into the cell. And then after is something very similar, but the only difference is the protein. So again, I will have real rice because it's I can do real rice. Typically I always choose rice as post-workout, and I'm doing no animal meats. Again, I choose usually liquids. So I'll do more of a like a protein hydrosolate, something simple. Again, like that's just ease. And again, like it's got to be easy for my stomach as well. So I'm not much of a big eater post-workout. I've never been. Actually makes me sick to my stomach. So when I used to play rugby and it would be hot, it was very difficult for me to eat. So it worked better almost with like snack foods again. So if I can't even have rice itself, I'll have rice cakes. And again, with some sort of very easy digestible protein. And then that's pretty much it. I try to keep it the same. That way I can measure it. And I really try not to move outside of those two. I've tried a litany of stuff. And where I went horrifically wrong and I got schooled out of my brains was like 2 years ago. I thought I knew a pretty decent amount of pre and post workout nutrition. And I did a weekend VIP session with Conor McGregor's coach, who coaches everyone from the UFC on how to cut fighters and then rehydrate them. And that's where like everything I thought I did right was wrong. And they really keep it to like potatoes or rice. There is no like potatoes, rice, and liquid hydration. This is it. And again, they're pulling 20 pounds off someone. So every molecule that they put in the body needs to be accounted for, because then those guys have to go fight at maximum capacity in a couple hours. Right. So everything that I thought about all this shit, I thought it was spot on. And I was just like, I just sat there. I'm like, cool. I know literally nothing about pre and post workout and intra workout nutrition. I mean, I was pretty okay with stuff, but I had no idea about, how ATP breaks off and this and that. But anyway, they do all the science, and then they give you the protocols. And this is pretty much what they do, and even at the elite levels, right? So they're keeping it to very, very airy foods that don't require a lot of space in the gut. So even rice is going to expand and take up a little bit of space, where we're trying to get things as dry as possible, because we also want to drive some of the water into the gut as well. So a rice cake is great because it'll help drive cellular hydration into the gut.
Wow.
Because that's got to be able to, again, like it's just stuff that, again, I was like, like sitting there, like I'm like my head.
It makes sense. It makes sense understanding the physiology of why that would work. And I never thought of the rice cakes, but back in the bodybuilding days, these guys run rice cakes. Yeah.
But that's the thing. I was just talking to one of my very good friends who is into bodybuilding. He's chemically way smarter than me. He's over here, and I'm just like, one day I'll be there. But he was like, bodybuilders knew these things. We just put the science to it recently. And again, they use a lot of jam. One, because it's portable, and even fruit takes up space. It takes up space. And if you're not hydrated, like in the morning, you're probably not at full capacity of hydration. So fruit might be a better option in the morning. But again, like I can't take in that much food. It literally comes down to like, if you're like me, if you can't eat food in the morning, which most of your clients, they're like, fuck, I can't eat breakfast. I can't eat food. That might be an option for them. So either real fruit, like a piece of fruit, some rice. So you have what we've got multi-carb transporters as well. 4 different carb transporters that actually go into the cell and help it get energy. And one of those is fructose. But you want to have multiple transporters of carbs, meaning multiple different types of carbohydrates. That's when you're going to get the optimal cellular hydration and to be able to use that for energy. So I try to like get as many different carb sources that I can that are fiber free before and after. That way I'm just at least, again, all of this science can be done, but like, here's some rice cakes and some jam. It's easy, portable, and cheap too. That's another thing. I don't have to put them on a supplement or anything weird like that. I'm like, here, just take this before and after. Real easy, real portable. You know that when you're at a CrossFit competition, shit, it's hot. Sometimes it's so hot and you're doing multiple events, and then you don't have, the space in your gut sometimes even eat that food. Or if you're driving to and from the gym, like you might not be able to prep food. I always tell all my athletes just to keep a couple things of rice cakes and some jam in the back seat if it's, weather permitting. So worst case scenario, they can at least get some carbs before and after. Because you see this in your gym with the kids coming in, high school, college, they come in, they don't even eat. So it's like,
Oh yeah.
You know?
To note on that, and then I'm going to ask Janice about her routine here. I train both local high schools, the two rival high schools. I train their swim teams. Okay. Listen to this scenario. And I have nutrition talks with them every year, once a year, right? We do it as a team kind of thing. We sit down for a whole hour and we nail down some basic nutrition. Here's what happens to my typical athlete. So I'll ask an athlete to give me their diet. So we're coming into the this is what their day looks like on a Saturday. So they come in, they haven't drank any water yet, nor have some of them eaten. And here's what they have to do, because they're here to train, right? They have to train from I forget what time we start, but anyways, let's just say we start at 7. From 7 to 8, we'll do dry land, all right? And that's basically strength training, okay? So we'll do a workout, and guess what they're going to do after that? They're going to go swim for 2 hours, right? They have to go right into the water. And these are athletes that have had no water. And they're drinking water as they're working out, but it's already too late, and they've had no pre-workout nutrition, right? None. And that's not to say, what did they do the night before for dinner? Did they just have a piece of pizza? Did they do a piece of pizza and some Skittles?
Pretty much,
you know what I mean? They just did a terrible job of recovering, and we're wondering why they're not getting any better. And then we also have the anomaly, who's a Division I swimmer, eats like shit, and you're like, how are you doing this? Or we have the argument that says, how much better could it be? How much better could you be? And that's what I try to get through to them. But I don't know. I was into working out when I was 16 years old. So if someone told me to eat something because it was going to make me look more jacked or perform better, I was probably going to do it. But that's not the same school of thought with everyone. So Janice, tell me, give me a synopsis of your kind of protocol and ritual, and if you do Perry, you could talk about that. We'll talk about that next. But what do you do? What's your protocol?
So I will tell you, being in quarantine has changed a little bit for me. My life outside of quarantine, I'm up sometimes to 2 o'clock in the morning. I have like a crazy schedule. But also, I typically work out around 11 o'clock before, and I would be getting up with my kids around 7. So pre-quarantine, I would eat a breakfast, and typically breakfast is like egg whites and oatmeal. Throw my collagen in there. I mix them right together. Super simple, easy. I don't put any fat really in that at all. And not always, but for a long time, and now basically my nutrition is I do hydrate a lot in the morning. I'm water, and then I do the Graminos. I told you I'll fulfill my Graminos. I've done the water with salt water forever, and it's great. Going into the workout or while I'm working out, I am whey protein and dextrose powder. So straight to the bone, sugar, protein, simple. I do that in a really, my real big thing, at least 20 ounces scoop of each. Sometimes if we're going to do a big workout, I'll do a little bit more dextrose because it only gives me, typically I'm only doing about 20, 25 grams. But if I need more, I do. If you've been at a CrossFit competition, you pretty much will see me just doing my dextrose and protein with maybe some Greek yogurt in between WODs, maybe a granola bar. I don't eat when I train. I drink a shit ton of water. And then when I finish at home, I've been doing a smoothie because it's just so convenient. It's another liquid. I do put some greens in there, typically spinach in mine, and it's just protein and carbs once again, no fat to it at all. If I would be leaving from the gym, I would maybe have a Chobani yogurt with fruit right in it. So I'm getting my 20 grams of that protein right there. And then when I would come home, typically eat lunch before I would start my day. My lunches are usually around 5 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I eat a little bit later. And then from 2, I eat pretty solid from 2 to 8, where I get some meals in.
Yeah. And I knew Janice's routine because I try to mimic it at times.
People laugh at me because I just have Ziploc bags full of scoop of this, a scoop of that. And it's just the way I am. Now, when I'm done, I will eat like a bear, but I just can't. I can't process it.
And another important thing, especially because I deal with so many young athletes, right, is it has to be something that they enjoy eating and they believe that it works, right? So I take this back to time when I played for a Division II soccer team when I was in college, East Stroudsburg University. And at the time, we were top 5 in the country every single year. We had multiple All-Americans, and we had a really quality side. And I was going through my exercise science education then, taking sport nutrition classes, and I believed I was fairly educated at the time. And back then, it feels so weird to say that. The go-to snack, and again, this goes to enjoying, believing it works. So this one guy would have honey wheat bread with peanut butter, banana, and honey, right? This is what he ate. This was his ritual before every game. Now, could it have been better? Yes, certainly could have been better as far as a macronutrient profile before exercise. But he liked eating it. It tasted really, really, really good because I even adopted it. It tasted so good. And if we loosely applied the principles of pre-exercise, yes, it may have had a little bit too much fat, but it was very high in the carbohydrates. It had some simple in there. It had some complex in there. He was able to digest it without any stomach discomfort. That's the other thing. What do I eat? What doesn't bother your stomach during your workout? That's a nice sign as far as you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And he was performing at a super, super, super high level. And he was even so he wouldn't even drink milk with it. He was drinking water with it. So he was getting hydrated. He was getting his nutrients in, and he believed that it worked. And that there's also some merit to that, as far, especially with us, sometimes we do different things than we would prescribe, and not because we want to do something different, because we throw out the like factor. Like, I'd rather eat something else than rice cakes and jam, but I'm switching immediately. As soon as Adrian gives me a specific rice cake, is it caramel crust? Like, what are we doing?
I dip it in anabolic steroids. That's what I do.
Yeah, exactly. Because liking is not important to me. It's not important to me. Okay, the taste, not important to me.
For food, for me it is. Honestly, for food.
For food, yes. But
I would maybe say it tastes good because I think maybe not everybody else would, because I don't cook with a lot of salt. I've learned to have like a basic palate, but I really do enjoy food has to taste good.
Now,
I can throw some liquid down my throat probably. That doesn't taste good, but my food has to, because I don't.
Yeah. And so at this point, we didn't talk about Perry yet, but I think it'll come up in conversation. We have 8, I'm not even looking at the chat yet. We have 8 messages. Can we start going through some of those? Because I think we may end up talking about some principles, and to keep this sensitive to the time.
When you go through that, you'll actually hit the phases that we didn't even talk about.
Yeah, I think we will. So so Jackie Rebbolts, who's one of my personal nutrition clients that we just got off a conversation yesterday about nutrient timing, and I'm glad she's on the phone today, or on the Zoom call rather. So how long is protein circulating within the body after consumption, and what is the window before or after a workout for consumption? In minutes, she wants it. So can we give some general go-to guidelines on that, Adrian?
It depends on the protein type. However, that's tough. It really depends on, these are tough.
So
I would say depending what it's eaten with. That's the thing. Like, if I take protein by itself, I can get that in and out of my system, and I don't know what circulating means. I'm having a tough time with the question, maybe.
Yeah, and I think what she's referring to, and we went over this before, is you have about a 2 to 3 hour window where we were recommending eating in those blocks in 2 to 3 hours. So I think, yes, protein circulation depends on what you eat it with. Like, if you put some nut butter in it, even if it's an isolate, it's going to be a little bit different because fat extends it a little bit rather than if you just did an isolate with some dextrose or I think she has concentrate with some dextrose. It's going to be totally different. So I think overall, if we stick to that 2-3 hour, 4 at the max window of eating within your protein consumption, we're good. Now, specifically window before or after a workout for consumption, before the general, and we can agree to disagree or we could talk about this. As far as before, I'm of the school of thought that we need to allow some kind of digestion happening. So I like my pre-workout meal for me, and it depends on the person and depends what you eat it with, but I like to go 3 hours before I exercise, 2 hours, and it depends. If it's a solid meal, I like to go 3 hours. If it's liquid, I can go an hour before. I could even go a half hour before. So it depends. Then as far as after, what the science says is we have a 2 hour window. What I like to do, get it done in the first half an hour. Just do it. Get it done. And it depends if it's solid food or it's liquid. So we'll go with the general recommendation, or I will for that matter, as far as if you're doing it close, do liquid. If it happens to naturally line up with your lunch or your dinner, then that's what you're doing. But guess what? You're curtailing it, which means is follow the rules of pre and post workout nutrition as far as if my workout is in that afternoon block and it lines up with my dinner, and my dinner is a nice fatty steak with potatoes and I want to put butter on it, maybe I got to make another decision. You know what I mean? So it's a loaded question, and it depends, but I like limited fat, simple carbohydrates, an easily digestible form of protein. And that's how I would answer that question.
I agree with all that.
Thank you. Thank you, Janice. And again, Jackie, if we need more information on that, definitely re-question, but let me move on a little bit. So what's prohibited after a workout? This is from Suzanne. Matt just mentioned it. My pre-workout meal this morning, about an hour before a workout, was oatmeal, a half scoop of plant fusion protein powder, some chia seeds, some blueberries, and afterwards she had, I assume that's a Builder bar. It says Built Bar, and I'm not sure if there's two, but I think it's a Cliff Builder bar is probably what it is, which only has 9 grams of fat. It's not, I don't know what the fat content of that bar is, Suzanne, but this makes me think I'm done with carbs for the day. Does it? I don't know, because here's the thing. Suzanne, I'll let you, let me try to answer first to give you some numbers, because I think that's what a lot of people want. And so if I'm getting 300, here's my rule of thumb. If I'm eating total 300 grams of carbs by my end of day, that's my carb allotment, 300 grams. For me, I'm trying to do 50% around the workout window. So I got 150 grams of carbohydrates that I'm circulating through pre, peri, and post if I'm doing a peri. But that's my rough estimate of what I'm trying to get in and around the workout window. Would you guys both agree with that, or do you have some different things that you're looking at?
No, that's the same recommendation I give, very closely. Like that's what they got to get in, period. That's like, it's almost, I'm pretty strict on that actually. It's like a non-negotiable. If they're an athlete and they're training hard and their main focus is body recomposition and performance, if that can't be managed, then we don't move on.
Yeah.
I think Ferrari actually puts in his recommendation for pre, during, and post. If you are 1.6 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram. So if I weigh 125 pounds, I'm about 58 kilograms, something like that. I'd be looking at about 45 grams of carbohydrate pre and during, and 45 after. So I'm hitting about 90 grams. And for protein, his recommendation is right around 0.4 of your kilogram. So I'm sorry, so it would be 0.8 for before and after. So now I'm looking at, for both of those windows, for that whole window, that block, about 45 to 40 grams of protein. So if I know I'm there, like, think of that. If you're doing a minimum of 100 grams of protein a day, I just get my half of my protein there. And actually, for me, that's probably even more than half of my carbohydrates for the day. Like I said, I already know I'm clean eating kind of after that, and my carbohydrates mainly, unless I'm having a snack, is coming from mainly vegetables. Maybe I'm doing, sweet potato or rice, but it's pretty clean after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. So the next question comes from Nicole Roundsville, and she is asking, oh, I like this question. What are the pros of working creatine into the recovery nutrition routine? How essential is it? It just speeds the rate of protein synthesis, right? No, actually, I'm not familiar with that aspect of creatine, but creatine for me is one of those things. When I look at supplements, if an athlete is going to ask me about supplements, I'm going with what does literature say works. And creatine is one of the supplements that's on my list as far as works. And the way I define creatine is it helps an energy system, and it helps your ability to create more work within that energy system. That energy system happens to be the one that helps you gain some lean body mass. As far as lifting weights, short term, sprinting, stuff like that. So for me, creatine is an essential and beneficial part of your supplement regimen. And, I'd be curious to see what your opinion is of that, Adrianne, if you think creatine is as much of a gem as I think it is.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I can't find a reason to not take it. That's what I always tell people. I really don't. I recommend usually between like 5 grams, 20 is at like the limit, but even for a nootropic, even for brain cognition, there's been studies where it's been preventative with Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And, when we're talking about dendrites and how things fire, like, from just that functionality, again, I put everything down to cellular function. If it improves that, it's going to improve my mitochondria, my powerhouse, which it does. And creatine, in general, it actually helps with hydration. It does not dehydrate you. That's been proven 3,000 times. Just type it into PubMed, creatine, hydration. So if we're looking at the first and foremost principle of nutrient timing, which is ATP release and hydration, it does both.
Yeah.
It's cheap, it's affordable, and at this point, again, like I don't usually have a reason to not take it.
Yeah, totally.
Especially post age of 30, like used to be taking it as a supplement. I'm pissed I waited so long to take it because I was anti it for whatever dumb reason. Because I wanted to always be all natural, and I don't even know what that meant. But I wish I would have took it earlier in my rugby career, because I probably would have done significantly better in performance.
Oh yeah.
Even with like a small dose of creatine, but I wasn't taking anything. I was just taking like whey protein.
Totally.
But man, that would have been critical. I mean, now I definitely, when I go on like, cycles, I definitely like creatine is always in the mix.
Oh, totally.
Always.
And Nicole, just because you're on here, if you text me privately, and even for other listeners, we just connected with a company that we have an online store now that's specific to CrossFit Newtown to fulfill all your nutritional needs right now, and creatine's one of them. So Nicole, if you're interested in finding more information about that, please text me privately. My personal creatine use, I think I've been on it for almost over 10 years straight. The only reason I stop, and I do stop sometimes because I run out, I'm too lazy because I don't have a subscription to get more. And that's the only time I ever come off of creatine, because especially as someone who takes part in high intensity activity, creatine is definitely a helpful ergonomic aid for what we're doing, especially. Janice, are you taking creatine right now?
Not right now. But
she will now.
No. I didn't find out about creatine until I was like almost 40. I was taking like deer antler root and odd things and not taking creatine. And I remember Coach Carey would be like, what do you mean? Like, and this was when I was like fit. And she was like, what do you mean you're not taking creatine? And like, I was talking to Doc Tom, and he's like, you're not taking creatine? Are you fucking crazy? And I was like, oh, I guess I should be taking creatine. So at the moment, I'm not lifting a lot. I tend to do it when I'm training a lot harder. It's just kind of feel like it works for me. not that I'm not training hard. I'm not training as hard as I can. So that's like the next level for me. That's like when I'm dialing in and I'm training for strength.
Yeah, exactly.
And it becomes a so I do have it here. I do utilize it. However, at the moment, no, I'm not finding it essential for me to use it right now.
Yeah. I'll never, I mean, I miss days sometimes, but it's a constant staple. Like it was in my smoothie for sure. And I seen tremendous benefits from it. Adrian touched on the nootropic benefit of it, the cognitive function, and I'm into that stuff also. So just for that alone, I take creatine. So
plus, there's so much research on it. It's the most researched.
It is.
Like,
it is.
Thing, so everybody supports it. I mean,
totally. So the next question is from Nicole G, and she's asking, we'll re-answer this one. How soon before a workout should you eat? Is a half hour before too close to the workout? And Nicole, it depends. It depends on what the workout is. If it's highly metabolic and stressful to your gut, you're probably going to want to go to a liquid. If you can only eat, especially if you're an early AM exerciser and you wake up too late, you're probably going to want to default to liquid. That's probably your best bet. And is a half an hour too soon? No, I don't think so. Is a half hour too soon to eat the meal that I ate before my workout? Yes, probably.
So like that's what for me, like right now, I'm not eating anything before I train. I literally, because I know my gut can handle it, that's why I do that liquid way. And I'll start it maybe 20 minutes before, but I'm drinking that during because I know that my gut tolerates it well. And when you're training, in the middle of training, like stuff kind of slows itself down. So it doesn't really affect me. That may be something that's helpful for Nicole as well, because I know we've talked about it before. She definitely has a hard time with certain proteins too, not liking them.
And another good question is from Jackie Rebholz. When is the best time to eat fats? And what I say to that is evenly dispersed or unevenly dispersed, not within your workout window. So whatever you have to make up for the day in fat, spread it out through the rest of the day, and you're fine. If you want to save it for that nice juicy, prime rib that you're gonna have at night, go for it. Eat it outside the workout window. And that's my general recommendation. Do you guys agree with that, or have something else on like when fat should be eaten?
Away, far away from the workout windows, as far away, as far away as we can. I try to, like, if you're, if you're training in the middle of the day, then they're towards probably the edges of the day. Like, sure, you can get away with it, like you said, a little bit in the morning if you train at 12, but I'm trying to keep fat and fiber, like the two F's. I'm trying to keep them away from my workout window. Like I said, if we're doing them in those blocks of time of 4, and I got 8 to 12, 12 to 4, 4 to 8, and I'm working from 8 to 12, then they're going to be over here.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Yep. So split up intelligently within whatever framework of meals that you have, but definitely far away from the workout window.
Yeah, I love that. Anything different than that or new to that, Janice?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with that, but I take too on the days when you're taking the rest days. This is where, like, it can be advanced for some people, but for me, it really clicks that there's not a lot of carbohydrates that are needed for strong rest. So a very simple way to kind of balance that out is, even if you're not thinking about calories on those days, what you do is you take out your workout nutrition. So if you set workout nutrition, like I have a set one, I pretty much have it. If I'm not working out, that goes away. So my calories will go down. But what if I'm going to eat and replace? I'm replacing that stuff with more of my fat. So oftentimes
fats are going to go up.
I'm bumping that fat up. So putting your fat away from the workout window when your rest times as well helps better with recovery, because fat takes a lot longer. So it's going to help overall.
Oh, definitely.
I think that's why carb cycling and cycling of calories becomes something that people can manage in their minds if you do it the right way and you don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah. Well, you said cycling. We're not going to talk about cycling today because we'll be on the phone for another hour. Okay, but cycling, we're going to table cycling. All right, you said the word.
There is one thing I wanted to bring up, just because specifically I know Alex Ingram, who didn't put it in the chat, but she had, we had talked about it before. Alex worked out at our 5:30/6:30 class. And I know one of the things that Alex has said is that, if she's getting her workout stuff in, by the time she gets home and it's like 7 o'clock at night and she's trying to get settled in, now it's 8 and she's trying to get a good night's sleep. You know, what does that look like for someone who possibly has digestive issues now post workout, where we know it's in there? What would the recommendations be at that point? And do we look at like a different type of protein source? We talk about maybe a casein for someone post-workout there, and maybe eating real food earlier in the day. So if you guys want to answer that, I think that would be would help Alex out with that question.
I think what people have to get over and is that when we eat dinner, it has to be dinner. And when we eat breakfast, it has to be breakfast. And what I mean is the definition of those type of foods. Why can't your dinner be at 3 o'clock? And why can't your post-workout shake happen at 8? Because socially, we have preconceived definitions of what meals should look like. Mm-hmm. Breakfast does not have to be breakfast food, right? Mm-hmm. Dinner could be breakfast food. So, and I think that's the one issue that we struggle with, and you know, a lot, maybe Alex does too, is that it's dinner. What am I going to eat that's not going to keep me up all night, or am I be able to digest it? It's like, well, maybe your dinner happens at a different time. And maybe, like you said, maybe it is a casein now. Maybe it is a shake and it's casein, it's good. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be able to get to bed. I'm not going to have any digestive issues. And if we're really looking into dial in nutrition, we have those higher level order things of goals that we want. Well, then that is the next way of the next level of looking at things as far as meals. You know, right. That's why I like to call everything meals. Everything's a meal. Mm-hmm. It's not breakfast. Meal, it's not lunch. It's not dinner. Same. They're meals. And your snacks, they're meals. Okay. What do those meals look like? Some are smaller, some are larger, but they're meals, you know, and that's kind of how I would, you know, answer that question. If I was working with her right now is basically, we got to define your meal.
Yeah. And I would definitely piggyback off what Janice said with switching your protein source. And that's when I would be a little bit okay with a fattier thing at night. Cause you know, that's something that happens all the time. People, by the time they put the bar down and the time they get something in their mouth is like 2 hours. I take a shower, so by the time that's done, you know, I always develop this thing called a bridge for my client, like almost like a post-workout drink before the meal, right? So they're like post-workout liquid thing that they're sipping on the way home, at least to bridge like that post-workout, like a bridge drink of liquid, right? So it's, you know, it could be EAAs, like Janice was saying, even some, you know, dextrose, a little bit, just something to put it in the system that they're repairing and sipping on the way home. It doesn't have to be terribly high, but something on the way home that by the time they got to that meal, like she said, casein is one of my favorite things at night. A good trick on that is to actually pair that with a non-caffeinated green tea. So what we can do is actually use a small bit of that, and it won't stimulate you at all. However, but what it will do is open up the capillaries to push that in a little bit quicker. So at least you can start the recovering agent faster. It becomes, like I said, like I'm a big fan of like a protein drip or pulse or whatever you want to talk about it. And overnight, that if you take like that's 4 ounces, and this is something I learned from the UFC guys. It was not, it's far outside of my scope, but they would train late. They've got nothing. They don't want to eat. And just getting them to put something in, whether the casein is coming from the pure source of cottage cheese, if they can handle that dairy. Putting in different carb transporters, so fruits, rice. Sometimes what we would do is actually cook farina. If you're familiar with that, like a slow cook rice. And you mix the rice with the casein, chop up some fruit, and on the side is a non-caffeinated green tea. That's a great way to recover.
That sounds great.
Because the green tea's got a lot of catecholamines in it that can help with different anti-inflammation. You can throw some turmeric in that tea, which sounds gross but doesn't taste like anything. Again, like repair, and then they get that slow drip of the casein like overnight. But putting that with like multi-carbs that are easy to digest, again, there's a slow cook. I'll send you a link. There's a slow cook rice that literally like minute rice, just like minute oatmeal. You rip it off, you cook it real quick, you throw it in with the cottage cheese. You can throw pure sugar in it. I don't care. Again, that's one type of substrate of carbs. Then fruits, and you have the rice. So you're hitting everything. So I'm getting the quick delivery and the slow delivery, and then I can start the reparative process overnight. So that's just like some ways you can like build it in. If you don't have, I'm the same way. I just can't eat around work. I just suck at it. I literally do. It's always been a huge problem of mine. That's why I've kind of always defaulted to liquids. as a bridge. I still got to fit in meals. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I work out too hard, I have a tendency, like after your workout, my central nervous system is blown.
Well, that was bad.
But no, it wasn't bad. But if I didn't have highly branched cyclic dextrin for that workout, I ate right beforehand, and I had stuff in my car. I was able to come out of it a couple hours later, eat some full foods, and carry on. However, if I didn't have that, I would have died.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Straight up died.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So I for one, I know Janice probably wants to say something, but I have to cut it. And again, this is probably, we didn't even talk about peri-workout nutrition a lot. Again, this all could be a part 2. I see people are asking more creatine questions, but guys, anyone that's got supplement, and we're going to talk, actually, Adrianne doesn't even know this yet. We're going to talk about supplements next week because I have a special guest coming on our show. From a supplement company. We're going to get to interview them, Adrianne. How great does that sound? Yes. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in our little chat so we can get prepped for that. But anyone who's in, and this is fresh today, if you are interested in a nutrition company that only works with medical practitioners, we are now affiliated with them, and we have access to a multitude of supplements, creatine being one of them, that you can order online, have it drop shipped to your door. If you're on this call today, this is even before we actually lay this out to the whole population. I'll go a one-time purchase of 10% off. So if you want to create an account, privately text me or email me at matt@crossfitnewtown.com. I will send you the link to set yourself up in an account. I will set you up for your first purchase to be 10% off, and you can go ahead and shop for whatever you need. They have a quality creatine product on there, and you can peruse their other supplements. They also have genetic testing for your for what foods are. Yeah, so they have, it's called My Origin. So it's a one-time fee for the saliva test, and then you can add in $35 increments hormonal, food allergies, macronutrient sensitivities and stuff like that. If you're fat adapted, like, it's really, really cool. It's called, and we make, I'm just saying because it's cool, we make zero money off the Origin. So if anyone thinks I have some bias right here, it's called My Origin. But you have to get it through our account. Okay. Yeah. Nutridyne is the company. They worked with Charles Poliquin back in the day. And now now they're kind of, on their own. We only got in because we have 2 medical practitioners associated with our business. So now we have an account. The online store will be placed on our website under the merchandise tab, but is not on there yet because I just got off a phone call creating the back end of the website before this call. So if you're interested, definitely let me know. You can email me or text me, and I will give you guys a special 10% off your first purchase. Talk about, a multitude of anything you guys may need, but especially creatine, because I know it's a reputable source, because you got to be careful where the manufacturer is. So if you're interested, again, let me know.
Do they have a hormonal test panel?
They do. Yep. So
I'll chat with you later. Because I need a default source for that.
We could talk. We could definitely.
Because I used to use SpectraCell Labs for a lot of that, and they're kind of tough to get a hold of right now.
Yeah.
They have a lab you can actually go to in King of Prussia, and they do that, and then you can kind of do what you're talking about, endocrine, whatever. I like getting that when I have a client to a clean level. I'm like, all right, we need to get this. So I definitely want to, we'll chat later.
Yeah, definitely, because that was one of the main things that I liked about it. And again, what's really cool is, like, so I got the, I know we're recording this, but this is like after show bloopers. I did the 23andMe full health panel. It wasn't as detailed because they look for other things, but this is, so I had to pay one fee up front for everything, even things I didn't want done. What's cool about this is you pay a one-time testing fee. They store that the algorithm they use to test, and at any time up to 2 years, you can add an additional panel for $35. Yes, they save it. So if you're like, I don't want to put out 200 now, but I'll put out the 135 now for the test, and then one panel, and then
that's not bad.
As I want to get tested, then as I want to get
for
tested,
a test and a panel,
exactly, and then
that's cheap.
And then you can add panels. You can add panels as you go, which was great. And I was like, this is so beneficial for figuring
usually
out.
setup fees, even for SpectraCell, and I mean, I don't care if people hear, but it was like $200 for a setup. And then each test, depending, so like my hormonal was like 150.
Yeah.
Some of my gut ones were like 150.
Yeah.
So each one of their tests were I mean, this was also like 6 years ago, but still, that's pretty damn cheap.
Yeah.
Because I would love to get a gut culture done, actually.
Yeah, I'm getting one. I'm gonna order one, and I want to run the panel on me. I'm gonna make a story about it. So we're gonna see me go through the process and stuff. And I'm not sure. I mean, you certainly could spend $400 if you wanted to.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, you
But
could.
that's
You
not
could
even
just
that,
go
honestly.
crazy.
But that's a regular blood work for some people. If they have crap insurance, is $400.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's their I'm gonna ask one more question before I actually have to bounce. 'Cause I have a call. What's their retest fee? So if I get my gut done and in 6 months I want to retest it, will they retest it for fee, or have to pay another $35?
That's interesting. I don't know. That's probably on their website. We actually got
it probably is.
We have a functional medicine consultant that's for us only. His name is Josh. So that would be a question I'm definitely going to ask Josh about that. He'd be able to answer that. We've been setting this up for the past 2 weeks, and today was the final. Here's your store. Here's your stuff. Let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah,
so,
I would love
definitely.
to, because at some point my clients get to that point at 12 weeks. And I'm like, now that we're finished, you should go get this tested.
Yeah.
And then come back to me in like a couple months, and we'll recalibrate your nutrition.
Exactly.
But yeah, getting them all down to like, this is a hormonal issue, this is an endocrine issue, this is a gut issue. But I love data. I mean, I want to see the numbers, and I want to see did I do my job.
Yeah, exactly. You're totally right.
So,
you're totally right.
Word.
All right, Adrian. So we'll talk again. We'll talk soon.
All right. Yeah,
thanks for coming on today.
My company. Thanks,
all right.
Man.
Appreciate it.
Later.
See you later.
Good talk.
All right. All right. Yeah, that was a cool talk. So
good talk. See you out there.
Thank you. Thank you for stopping in the live room today. And we will definitely get this on YouTube and obnoxiously send it out to you so you can listen to it. You can have your friends and family listen to it. And listen to it on repeat. All right. So thanks everyone. And we'll see you next week at 1 p.m. All right. See you guys.